Ladies and gentlemen, 88.1 The Berg, your music central, and the CW Athletics live stream. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast of Central Washington University men's basketball action here in the Nicholson Pavilion. Folks, we just saw this team play this prior Saturday. They played a great game, and hey, what can you expect? Today we walk into a matchup against Evergreen State. We not only have our men's team playing today, but we've also got the women on the docket. So it's going to be a great night of action, and I wouldn't go far if you are wanting to stay tuned with what's going on with Central Washington basketball. Folks, over the last couple of weeks, we've had the pleasure of hosting a few of these exhibition games here at the Pavilion, and it's just been wonderful. I mean, all of the competition that's come in to play our teams has been great, and today we finally get to see both teams in action on the same court in the same day. Folks, it's been quite a while since I've been able to say those words at the beginning of a season. So, hey, what can you say? It's going to be a great night. Folks, taking a look at what Evergreen State's got in store for us, it's definitely an interesting matchup, that's for sure. When you look over at the rebounds category for them, of course, Central Washington this year has had a post presence that a couple of other teams have tried to replicate, but you haven't really been able to see. I mean, Central Washington has been very efficient, whether it's been inside the painted area or beyond the arc. They've been able to find different ways to score no matter who they're playing against. Now, like I was saying before, Evergreen State is a team that isn't really going to put up much resistance in the post if the numbers are going to translate to what the eye test tells you. Now, when we look over at rebounds, the leading rebounder for Evergreen State is Tyler Willerford. He's averaging just around 7 rebounds a game, which isn't close to what the Wildcats are averaging. I mean, when you look at the top scorers for the Wildcats and you look at the top rebounders for the Wildcats, the numbers are definitely far and in between when you're comparing them with Evergreen State. Going over in the rebounds category for Central Washington, Samad Hector, who also leads the team in scoring, is leading in rebounds with 8.4 that he's averaging on the season coming into this game. Right behind him is Maverick Sanders at 5.1 rebounds a game, and of course, right behind them is Mitch Brizzi. Now, folks, like I said before, Central Washington has had a great post presence so far. Not only that, but defensively, they've been able to hold down any team that comes in their sights. When we look into the steals for the Central Washington Wildcats this year, it's easy to see that there's a couple of guys that are poking out above league standards. I mean, the Wildcats themselves as a team sit right around league average when you look at how many steals they're putting up as a team. But when you look into the individual statistics, Bradley Swilley is leading the team in steals at 13. Right below him, you've got Kevin Holden, right below him, you've got Jordan Clark, which has 12 steals himself. So the two guards are really holding it down. I mean, if you've got somebody up there who can hold it down, not allow opposing guards to make it past him, and if you can sprinkle a couple of steals on top of that, you're looking at a recipe for a great defensive scheme, and that's what Central Washington's showed off to this point. The other notable steals leader for the Wildcats, of course, is Cameron McNeil from the two-guard spot. He's been great when it comes to taking the ball away from opponents and forcing turnovers in and of itself. Folks, this is a Wildcat team that plays with a different level of intensity. You know, when you look at the team last year, of course, there's not too many names that have departed, but you look at guys like Brock Gilbert and you look at guys like Matt Paquette and what they were able to add to this team. Now, it's been replicated this year, but it's kind of a Moneyball situation, right? You're not replicating it by getting one or two players that are going to give you those same kinds of numbers. You're doing it by bringing in a fleet of guys that have all of these different abilities with which really mesh together so well. Now, we have not in the Nicholson Arena since the beginning of this winter break seen a loss from the Wildcats. Now, we don't expect one today. And against Evergreen State, I mean, it's going to be a good night of competition, but you'd have to see what the Wildcats are able to do. When you look at the numbers, it's one thing, but when you look at them with the eye test, it's a whole nother. Now, folks, we're about to take a break here as we do go into the national anthem and everything that is tied in with it. We'll be back in just about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg and the Central Washington Athletics. Sorry, folks, the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Folks, like I said before, we will be gone for just about 30 seconds, so if you give me just a moment, we will be right back with you. 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, alongside the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Folks, we are here at the Nicholson Arena for another night of basketball action. Folks, it is Central Washington versus Evergreen State College. So, folks, we've got a great night of action tonight. We've got not only the men's playing, but a doubleheader involved with our women's teams. Both are going to be played against Evergreen State, and we've got a great night of action ahead of us. Right now, we've got the players being announced on the court, and up until the start of the game, I'll be kind of taking a dive into the statistical analysis of both of these teams, trying to compare and contrast them and see really what the numbers say is going to happen once this ball does get tipped off. Now, folks, like I was saying before the break, there are a couple of notable factors that stand out when you compare these two teams. Most notably, when I'm looking at Central Washington, you look at the three-point percentage and the field goal percentage. There are two categories that Central Washington has excelled in. Now, the opponent's average for three-point percentage against Central Washington has been 27% up until this point in the season, while Central Washington has put up 330 just about in their three-point tries. Now, that's quite the margin when you look at what Central Washington's been able to do, and it really speaks to their perimeter defense, which has just been getting better and better as every game goes by. These players are learning to mesh in a different kind of style, and not only that, but they've been showing off on their both ends of the court. So, folks, we've got a great night ahead of us. When you look at the charity stripe numbers for both of these teams, Central Washington, again, about a 30-point advantage over what their opponents are able to do. Nicholson Arena, once we've got the fans packing this place in, it's a tough place to make free throws, and it's a place where you're going to get a lot of pressure on you once you make it to that charity stripe. So we'll see how those numbers fluctuate as the season goes on. But as of right now, we've got Samad Hector lining up for the tip-off right here at midcourt, Nicholson Arena. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into our broadcast as Central Washington is going to take back the tip-off off of a Samad Hector jump. And here we go. We are jumping right on into it as Jordan Clark's going to pass out left. He's going to find Cameron McNeil now working in. He's going to pass out to the perimeter. This is passed over now, and the Wildcats working their way around the perimeter. Pass back over to Maverick Sanders. Maverick Sanders goes out right, passes this one over to Dawson. Dawson driving, puts up the layup, and he's going to get it to go. So a quick 2 points put on the board for the Wildcats in the first 30 seconds of this game. Now here comes Evergreen State. Crossing midcourt, it's Jaden Upshaw, the primary ball handler for Evergreen State. Now here they go, passing it around a couple times. He's going to make it back to Upshaw. Looks like he wanted the mid-range shot. Didn't take it, but did get fouled. So it's going to be a couple of shots at the line for Jaden Upshaw. Taking a look into the numbers from the charity stripe for Jaden Upshaw so far on this season. Shooting about 68% from the line. So we'll see how he's able to do in these two tries. The first one is going to be up and good. Now awaiting the second shot. This one is up, and it's going to go off the back iron, rebounded by Evergreen State. And we are right back into it, driving in and putting up a shot. It's going to be Luke Brewer of Evergreen State, but this one is going to be up and off, rebounded by Central Washington. Now Cameron McNeil with the ball in hand, working on the perimeter. He's going to pass into Samad Hector. Hector's going to give this one back out Clark. Clark's going to shoot it over to McNeil. McNeil puts up the three, and he's going to get this one to go. So the Wildcats with 5 quick points on the board within the first couple minutes of action here in this first half. Now bringing it back across half court once again is Evergreen State with the ball in the hands of Jaden Upshaw. He's going to pass it around a couple of times, and now here's Evergreen State working the ball inside and getting a shot to go. That one at the hands of number 23, Lane Kennedy. Now the Wildcats passing it around. Maverick Sanders moving out left. He's going to pass back out to Cameron McNeil again. And McNeil's got a hot hand, hitting his second straight three. That's back-to-back drives with a three-pointer for the Wildcats as they look to keep this game's momentum moving in their direction. Here's Jaden Upshaw attempting a pass. Got bobbled for a second, but it's going to stay in possession of Evergreen State on the perimeter, working around. He's going to shoot this one out. Now working in again. It's to Kennedy. Kennedy passes out to Upshaw. Upshaw for three, but this one is up and off the back iron. And it is rebounded by Evergreen State, but it'll find its way out of bounds and into the possession of your Central Washington Wildcats. It'll be Jordan Clark, the inbounder, passing into Seth Dawson. Now crossing midcourt against Jaden Upshaw. Moving out left, he's going to pass to Cameron McNeil. McNeil drives, shoots back to Maverick Sanders for three. This one is up and off the front of the rim. Rebounded by Upshaw. Here they come, shoots this one out. Three-pointer in the corner. This one's going to be up and off. Rebounded by Samad Hector of the Wildcats. And now here's Seth Dawson bringing it up. He's going to pass this one over. McNeil for a third three, but this one is up and off the back iron, rebounded by Evergreen State. And once again, it'll be Upshaw bringing it up. He'll be faced against Dawson, who's been a great perimeter defender up until this point in the season. Upshaw calling a couple of plays, moving out left now, still working on the perimeter. He's going to come and get the screen. Now he's going to pass back out to the screener. He's going to put up a shot, but this one's going to be off. That was Lane Kennedy on the three-point attempt. Now here's Dawson moving out right. He's got Upshaw on him, passes out left to Cameron McNeil. McNeil now into Samad Hector. Hector's going to bully his opponent, and that's going to put up a shot which extends the Wildcat lead to 7. 10-3, your current score. Just about 3 minutes off the board in this first half of action. Jaden Upshaw bringing it up. He's going to call for a man on his right. Moving it around the wings, back to Upshaw. Upshaw, he's going to pass this one in. It's number 11 putting up a quick and easy layup. That's going to be Daniel Thomas getting it to go. And now here's Dawson once again moving up, moving his way back to the perimeter and passing in to Samad Hector. Hector moving around his guy, but he drops it. This one will find its way out of bounds, and it will be Evergreen State ball. Turnovers have been something that the Wildcats have struggled with up until this point in the season, but they have not let it keep them from winning. The Wildcats 7-3 so far on the year and 1-1 in conference play. Now here's Evergreen State moving it around the perimeter. Upshaw now driving on Hector. He's going to make a quick pass out to Thomas, and that'll be another 2 points on the board for the Geoducks. As here comes Central Washington's Cameron McNeil. A quick layup. Gets that to go. That extends the Wildcat lead to 5. A timeout is taken on the court. And we're going to take one, too, and be back in just about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. .88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Welcome back to Central Washington University basketball. Folks, we've got a great night of action ahead of us, as has been mentioned multiple times throughout this broadcast. We're about 4 minutes into our first game and the first half of our Central Washington versus Evergreen State kind of series that we got going on. I guess it's only 2 games, so a doubleheader is more apt, but either description is going to give you a good idea of what we got going on here at the Nicholson Arena. This will be the final game of the winter break for both of our teams. The next time that you'll be able to catch us will be when we come back, just about at the end of December, moving into early January, and then, of course, the season will extend into March. But for now, here's Upshaw bringing it up. He's going to make a quick pass out. And here once again is Evergreen State. Thomas back to Upshaw. Upshaw the layup, but this one is up and off. Rebounded by Samad Hector. Now passed out to Dawson to McNeil. McNeil now over. This one to Clark. Clark back to Dawson. Working on the perimeter. Back to McNeil. This one to Maverick Sanders. Looked like he wanted the mid-range. Didn't take it. Another pump fake. Out to McNeil. McNeil to Dawson. Dawson out to Clark for 3. Up and off. Rebounded by Samad Hector. A good offensive rebound. He's going to get the second chance points with it, too. The Wildcats doubling up the Evergreen State score. 14-7. Your current set, as here's Evergreen State moving the ball around. Upshaw passing out right. Now over back to Thomas. Thomas won't take the shot. Instead passes out. Moving in from the wing. Now passed over to Upshaw. Ball's bobbled around a couple of times, and it's going to be Cameron McNeil coming out with it. Passes over to Maverick Sanders, and it's going to be blocked. Referees say it's clean, so Evergreen State brings it back. Thomas passes over. Quick shot is put up and missed. That one attempted by Lane Kennedy. The Geoducks tonight not been too great from beyond the arc, but the Wildcats' perimeter defense could be something to explain that. Maverick Sanders driving in, passing out now to Seth Dawson. Dawson won't take a shot. Instead, driving in against his defender, putting up the shot and getting it to go. But an offensive foul is going to be called against Dawson. And it'll be the Geoducks taking over with no change in score. So Upshaw will once again bring it up. Crossing midcourt, he passes over. Now here's a quick three-point shot attempted, and it's going to go. That one put up and knocked down by Elijah McLaughlin. Elijah McLaughlin, the second leading scorer for the Geoducks up until this point in the season. But folks, they take a timeout on the court. We're going to take one too and be back in about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. .88.1 The Berg, your Music Central and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here at the Nicholson Arena. Just about 6 minutes, or give or take, about 5.5 minutes, closer to it, into this first half of action in our first game of the night as the men's teams go head-to-head against Evergreen State. Now here's Samad Hector with the ball driving in. He's going to put up a shot, working through about two defenders, and he's going to get it to go. 16-10, now your score. The Wildcats on top. Here's Jaden Upshaw, moving it up court. He passes over to McLaughlin. McLaughlin back to Upshaw, moving around the perimeter. Now driving, puts up a shot, and this one's going to go. So a quick layup for Upshaw is going to cut the Wildcat lead down to 4. But on the other end, here's Cameron McNeil passing out to Samad Hector for 3. This one's going to go. Samad Hector up into this point in the season, leading the Wildcats in three-point percentage at .387 walking into this game. That one's sure to extend it a little bit further. Now here's McLaughlin working against the Wildcats. He's going to pass back out to Upshaw. Returns it again. Now it's over to Brewer, and a travel's going to be called. So back to the Wildcats, the ball will go. Just about 6.5 minutes removed from the start of this game. College basketball, of course, for the men's side, working on a half system. The women's side working with quarters. As now here the Wildcats moving it around. It's going to be tossed about a little bit. Here's Dawson passing over to Angelo Lloyd, who hits the turnaround three ball. In our last game, Angelo Lloyd finished with 27 points, leading the game in scoring for an individual. He has definitely been having quite this showing over this winter break. We'll see if he's able to extend it tonight against Evergreen State, as now it's passed around a couple of times, and a three ball is going to be put up. This one attempted by Mubarak Michael of Evergreen State. Now back to the Wildcats. It's Samad Hector working on the interior here, driving in against his man and passing over. That one intended for Cameron McNeil. He does pick it up but passes it about. Back to McNeil, wide open. You can see that one rebounded by Evergreen State, and back they come. Here's Upshaw driving his way in, shooting. This one is up and off, though, rebounded by Seth Dawson. And here come the Wildcats once again. It's Cameron McNeil receiving the pass, driving, passing out. This one into the hands of Bradley Swilly, but he's going to pass out to Dawson. Dawson will drive, puts up a layup of his own, and this one is off. A foul is called, though, so a couple of free throw shots coming his way. A look into the numbers at the charity stripe so far this season for the Wildcats. We already somewhat went over, but for Seth Dawson, in and of his health, he's shot about 76% from the charity stripe. So we'll see what he's able to do here with a couple coming his way. Awaiting the first shot now. First will go. So Dawson's going to convert on the first of his two free throws. A couple of substitutions as Colby Jeanette checks into the game, as well as Mitch Brizzi in the places of Cameron McNeil and Samad Hector. Second shot coming now for Seth Dawson. And that one will go. So both free throws knocked down for Seth Dawson. The Wildcats extend their lead to 12, doubling up the points of Evergreen State. And it will be Evergreen State proceeding to see if they can put anything together against the Wildcats here. It's Alex Glenn passing out right. This one to Brewer. Now passed around a couple of times, and it'll find its way back into the hands of Brewer. On the perimeter, being worked against by Angelo Lloyd. He passes back out to Glenn. Glenn on the exterior. He hands this one off. Now driving is Thomas, puts up a layup, and at what looked to be a clean block by Bradley Swilly is going to be called. It's going to be called a defensive foul, which will lead to free throws, but not before we have a timeout on the court. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break and be back about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. And we are back here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Evergreen State versus Central Washington on the docket here. 24-12, your current score, as Evergreen State will shoot free throws. First one is going to be up and good. And now we await the second shot. This one also up and good, so both free throws going to be converted on for Michael. And now here come the Wildcats. Kevin Holden, ball in hand. And he's going to drive, but he's going to pass out. Ball will find its way out to Angelo Lloyd, who knocks down his second three of the game. And here comes Evergreen State once again. Angelo Lloyd really showing off the shooting ability over these last two games. It's Glenn now passing out right. Back to Glenn. A little bit of hot potato there as he passes out left. Still on the perimeter to Thomas. This one passed back out. Now worked onto the inside. Working against Mitch Brizzi and putting up a shot is going to be number 42 of Evergreen State, Gunnar Haran. But it's going to be the Central Washington prevailing. And on the other side, after bobbling a little bit, Central Washington looking for an opportunity, and Mitch Brizzi's going to come out with the ball, but he's going to lose it on the other end. And Evergreen State, at the end of the skirmish, if you will end up with the ball in their possession. So an interesting showing there, no matter which way you look at it. About 9 minutes into our first half of action here tonight, and Evergreen State proceeds once again. Here's Glenn bringing it up for him. He's going to pass this one out right. This one to Russ. Russ back to Glenn. Glenn now moving it around the perimeter. Back to him. Glenn driving on the interior. He's going to hand this one back out. And it's back to Glenn. Glenn working against Colby Jeanette here. He's going to take a screen and pass out left. Shot's not going to be taken. It'll be bobbled around a couple of times. And on the ground, no jump ball will be called. Instead, it's going to bobble itself around just a little bit more before Central Washington comes out in possession. Quite the interesting turn of events over the last minute or so of game time as Central Washington retakes possession. Kevin Holden will be the ball handler, bringing it up off of the inbound. Now moving around a little bit, working against Glenn, but Glenn picks his pocket, and here comes Evergreen State once again. Working against Mitch Brizzi is Elijah McLaughlin, but he passes it out. And a three-point shot is going to be taken. This one will find its way in, and it's going to be 3 points to Michael and Evergreen State. They cut the lead for Central Washington down a little bit as Central Washington proceeds on their end. It's Angelo Lloyd given a wide-open three-point opportunity. And, folks, if there's anything that the last couple of games for the Wildcats have shown you, it's that you can't do that. And it shows itself once again. History repeats itself. So here comes Evergreen State. Ball being moved around a couple of times. And here's Glenn. Ball in hand. Moves it out. Three-point shot taken by McLaughlin, but this one is off. Thought that he could replicate the shot from Lloyd, but he won't. Ball goes out of bounds, and it's called out on Central Washington. So ball stays in the hands of Evergreen State. The Geoducks trailing Central Washington by 13 points as we break into what would be the second quarter of action. 9 minutes, 35 seconds remaining. Here's Glenn putting up a fancy layup, gets it to go. Now here's Kevin Holden bringing it back for the Wildcats. Takes the screen from Brizzy, uses it in his own way, passes out now to Lloyd. Lloyd driving in. He's got Holden to his right, won't give it to him. Instead takes the mid-range shot. And this one's rebounded by Evergreen State, who now drive on the fast break. No shot taken. Ball is poked out that time, I believe, by Kevin Holden. And it stays in possession of Evergreen State. So the inbounder will be Michael, as a couple of substitutions start rolling in for the Geoducks. This one passed in, and a foul is going to be called on Colby Jeanette. And that will be credited against Colby Jeanette. This one against Elijah McLaughlin. And another substitution taking place for the Geoducks, as once again it's Lane Kennedy entering the game. And quickly, Central Washington taking possession of the ball. It's Colby Jeanette once again finding his name being called, and the whistle will blow as he proceeds to take a shot on the other end. So 2 free throws coming his way. 9 minutes remaining in this first half of action. 30-19 your current score. Central Washington leads by 11 points. And Colby Jeanette gets ready to take his first free throw. First one is put up, and this one is going to go. So Colby Jeanette knocking down his first shot from the line. He has not missed a free throw yet on the season. So here comes the second one. And he's not going to stray away from that pattern. Colby Jeanette stays perfect from the charity stripe. Still looking at 1,000 as here comes Glenn and Evergreen State. He passes out right, but it gets returned to him. Passes over to Michael. Michael back to Glenn. Glenn moving it on to the inside. And McLaughlin wanting the shot, can't take it. Instead passes back out to Kennedy. Kennedy loses the ball, but it's over to Glenn. Glenn being guarded by Colby Jeanette, puts up a shot, but the perimeter defense is too much. Quick couple of pop-up attempts, trying to get a putback to go for Evergreen State, are going to be unsuccessful. Ball finds its way out of bounds, and it's Angelo Lloyd inbounding the ball back into Jordan Clark to start it off for the Wildcats. Clark moving out left. Back out right, passes to Jeanette. Jeanette back out Clark. Clark into Brizzy. Brizzy working against his defender and gets it to go. So just like that, extends the Wildcat lead to 17. As here comes Evergreen State on the other end. Ball being moved around a little bit. My excuse me on the recollection of the score there, folks. It's a 15-point lead for the Wildcats. As here's Brizzy working himself against McLaughlin. A foul is going to be called, though. And we'll see how they dictate this one, whether it be an inbound or whether it be free throws, but it will be inbound. Will be inbounded by the Wildcats. It'll be Kevin Holden, it appears, though it may be Angelo Lloyd. It will be Angelo Lloyd. Excuse me, no, it will not. Angelo Lloyd comes out of the game in exchange for Cameron McNeil, and it's Jordan Clark inbounding. He passes this one into Mitch Brizzy. And now Brizzy keeping the ball in his possession, passes this one out, and it's going to be moved around a couple of times before finding itself in the possession of Colby Jeanette, who gets that one to go. That's Jeanette's first time jumping on the board tonight. And now the Wildcats leading by 17 as Evergreen State works to cut that down a little bit. The quick three-point shot is taken by McLaughlin, but it's off and rebounded by Colby Jeanette. Now this one passed up to Clark. Clark shooting this one back over, finds its way to Jeanette. Jeanette over, passes out to McNeil. McNeil working to his left, hands off to Brizzy. Brizzy moving out right, hands this one off to Jeanette. Jeanette for three. He's been known to be able to shoot those and make them with consistency. This time it won't go, though, as it's Upshaw bringing it over. And here once again comes Thomas, passed out to the exterior with Kennedy. Kennedy working against Brizzy here, but it's stolen by McNeil. McNeil passing this one up, and it's jammed on the other end, this time by Bradley Sawilli. 38-19 your score as the Wildcats continue to work against Evergreen State, not letting anything up. Upshaw puts up a three, and that one's going to go, so that's kind of a slap in the face after my prior comment, but with all things beside, Jordan Clark working himself up. moving around here on his defender, showing off some dribble moves, passes over to Jeanette. Jeanette reels it in, sends it out, and it's a three-point shot put up and missed this time by Bradley Swilly, trying to get spectacular shots on back-to-back plays. But on the other end, Evergreen State unable to get a layup to go, rebounded now once again by Swilly and the Wildcats. He's going to pass out left to Colby Jeanette, wants the three, won't take it, drives, and he's fouled on his way to the layup. So that'll be 2 shots for Jeanette and a chance to push the Wildcat total to 40 early here in this game against Evergreen State. About 6 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on the clock, and the Wildcats will lead by 16 when we come back in just about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. .1 The Berg, your Music Central. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Folks, we've got quite the game brewing up here as Central Washington holds a commanding 16-point lead with 6 minutes, just about 6.5 minutes remaining in this first half of action against Evergreen State. Folks, coming into the game tonight, we spoke on the percentages for both of these teams, more specifically the efficiencies of both of these teams. And I spoke on how Central Washington definitely looked a little bit more prominent when you look at the numbers, and that has definitely correlated itself to the game that we've watched up until this point. Central Washington dominating in most facets of the game so far. In fact, I couldn't name one that they have been lacking on. Now we'll see if they are able to continue on their streak of greatness that you may be able to call it over this winter break, see if they can finish undefeated against exhibition opponents. As Colby Jeanette takes his first free throw and knocks it down. Now he'll get one more and a chance to push the Wildcat total to 40, which would also push the lead to 18. Jeanette readies up, takes the free throw, and he remains perfect from the charity stripe. That's right, up until this point, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. As here's Upshaw bringing it up for Evergreen State. Passes out right, this one to McLaughlin. McLaughlin back to Upshaw. And now passes over to Kennedy. Kennedy hands this one off a couple of times as Upshaw misses a layup. Rebounded by Brizzy and passed out Clark. Clark over to Jeanette. Going to bobble it around a couple of times and keep the ball in Jeanette's possession. Over to Brizzy. He's going to power his way in, and it'll be an and one opportunity for Mitch Brizzy as he drives into the painted area and really faces little opposition, but the opposition that he did face was enough for the whistles to blow. So 42-22, your current score. Mitch Brizzy, a chance to extend that a little bit further on the leading side. A 20-point lead for the Wildcats, as Brizzy will miss his free throw, and the whistles will blow practically immediately after. And some chirps from throughout Nicholson Arena. As now Mitch Brizzy readies for his second shot. And that one will go. So that pushes the Wildcat total to 43. And another timeout appeared to have been called, but it was not. Now whistles will blow. A lot of beeps and buzzes here. And it appears that we will be in play. The referee's having a bit of a conversation here, not necessarily sure what's happening, as Upshaw bringing the ball up now for Evergreen State. He's going to pass out left, right back to him. Playing some hot potato here, and it's stolen by Jordan Clark. Then a foul called. Interested to see how they call this one, whether it be blocking or charging. And it will be a blocking foul called against Evergreen State. The inbounder for the Wildcats, Jordan Clark, as he passes this one in to Seth Dawson. Dawson working in, he passes out to Maverick Sanders. Sanders over to McNeil. McNeil out to Samad Hector, takes and misses a three. Rebounded by Dawson. Dawson working against his man. Passes out to Clark. Wide open three. Gets it to go. 46-24. Your Wildcats 2 points over the doubled score of their opponents. So definitely a video game-like matchup here between Central Washington and Evergreen State. This one passed around a couple of times. Upshaw passes out, and it's a mid-range shot put up and missed. Rebounded by Seth Dawson, passed up to Clark. Clark's got a chance for points on back-to-backs, but he instead hands it over to Cameron McNeil to put a couple on the board himself. That pushes the Wildcats to 48 points on the night as Upshaw brings it forward. Upshaw working against a couple of defenders here as it's Seth Dawson who will engage. Ball's passed over to McLaughlin, who takes a three and gets it to go. Bit of contact on that one, which wasn't blown for, and it's going to be Seth Dawson bringing it up. Dawson passes over to Maverick Sanders. Sanders takes the mid-range shot, can't get it to go. And it's rebounded by McLaughlin. McLaughlin passes it up a couple of times, and here they come. McLaughlin working against Clark, puts up a shot, but this one is up and off. Rebounded now by Maverick Sanders and the Wildcats. And here comes Dawson, driving, putting up the layup, but this one is up and off. A variety of different Geoducks there to stop him as McLaughlin gets an open three-point attempt on the other end, but can't convert on it. And on the rebound is going to be Lane Kennedy. Whistles blow on the way down. And we'll see what this ends up being. Quick substitution here as Jordan Clark comes out of the game in exchange for Kevin Holden. And a timeout is called, so we'll take 1-2 and be back in about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, and your Central Washington University your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. There's a whole lot of words thrown out today, folks. We'll be back in 30. On the Berg, your Music Central and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Nailed it that time, folks, as we return to the action. 4 minutes remaining in the first half as your Central Washington Wildcats lead it by 23 points against their opponents, the Evergreen State Geoducks, which I will say is quite the mascot. I would like to see a drawing of one of those, but alas, I don't think that anybody's going to meet my request as the Geoducks get ready to pass this one in. It'll be Lane Kennedy, the inbounder, passes this one into Upshaw, who works against Holden, and he passes in for a quick shot by Lane Kennedy. Not necessarily a shot, as you'd call it, but he does get it to go with the dunk, as here's Seth Dawson working his way up. He passes out to Kevin Holden. Holden wants the shot, doesn't take it. Back out Dawson. Dawson has the shot, doesn't take it. Instead takes a step forward, puts one up and misses. Second chance by Hector is off, and Heedy looks like he might be hurting there. Appears to be grabbing the hamstring. But we'll hope that all is good with Samad Hector on the court. And it appears that he's just fine. He will have these two shots coming his way. Samad Hector, of course, has been one of the top contributors to the Wildcats as he puts up his first free throw and gets it to go. Also, carrying a 94% free throw percentage into this game against the Geoducks. Chance to push the Wildcat lead to 23. And he capitalizes on it. So Samad Hector gets it to go, and he's looking energized as he backs up. So just like that, the Wildcats are back in action as here comes Upshaw. Upshaw passes out right, moving it around the perimeter again. Now this one over to Michael. Michael back to Upshaw. Upshaw working against Dawson. And now it's passed over a couple of times, and it's a shot taken by Thomas. This one is up and good. So that's three more on the board, and they cut the lead to 20. Now here comes Seth Dawson. He's going to pass this one up, and it's a quick three taken by Cameron McNeil. If there's one thing that we've said, ladies and gentlemen, you can't leave him open from there. McNeil puts 3 more on the board, and here come the Geoducks. Passes it around a couple of times. It finds its way into the hands of Thomas, who passes over to Upshaw. Upshaw puts up a shot right over Samad Hector, uncontested, and gets it to go. Now here come the Wildcats. Dawson, ball in hand, working his way up against Thomas, and he gets the ball snatched from him on the layup attempt. Thomas working it up, passes over. Now working around the exterior once more, the Geoducks. It's Michael with the ball in hand. Working against Samad Hector here. He goes out left. Now working against Maverick Sanders. Gets the shot to go. It so appears. And it's going to be free throws put up here. Once again by Mubarak Michael. We await the first free throw here, as we've already talked about his free throw stats so far on the season. First shot's going to go. So we'll see if I can maybe do a little bit here in the announcer's booth. Of course, the announcer's curse has shown itself time and time again when we talk about the free throw numbers for Central Washington. So we'll see what he's able to do here from the charity stripe. Gets this one up, and it will go after a little bit of a spin around the rim. Here comes Kevin Holden for the Wildcats. Working against Mubarak Michael. He passes out to Samad Hector. Hector working his way in against Thomas, and it's quite the mismatch. A foul is called before the shot is put up by Hector. The Wildcats are in the bonus here as the 7th foul committed by the Geoducks. Excuse me, the 8th foul committed by the Geoducks. This one called against Lane Kennedy. Samad Hector's going to miss the shot, and of course 1-and-1s for the bonus shot, so if the first one does not go, you do not get the second. And here comes Upshaw working against Samad Hector, passes out to Thomas. Thomas working around. He's going to lose the ball for a second, but it's right back into the hands of Kennedy. Kennedy passes into his big, working against Angelo Lloyd. Back out to Upshaw for 3, but up and off the back iron. Rebounded now by Kevin Holden and the Wildcats. Holden driving, passing out to Hector for 3. This one is up and off, finds the ground before the rim, and it's the Geoducks bringing it back. Lane Kennedy, ball in hand, working here against Maverick Sanders. He hands it off to Upshaw. Upshaw working into the painted area, takes a swing around, back to Mubarak Michael. Michael takes the screen, moves out left, and drains a three-pointer. So that's going to put 3 more on the board for Evergreen State. And here come the Wildcats trying to recollect something, but the ball will be snatched out of the hands of Angelo Lloyd into the possession of the Geoducks. Now a substitution coming, as it's Samad Hector coming out of the game in exchange for number 25, Carl Thorpe. And here come the Geoducks, bringing it down the court once more. Jaden Upshaw appears that he'll work against Kevin Holden here as he passes out to Mubarak Michael. Moves out left, takes another 3, and on back-to-back plays he attempts, but this time not the same result. Instead, it's second chance points put up and acquired by Gunnar Haran. And here come the Wildcats again. Carl Thorpe on the exterior, passes into Sanders. Sanders attempts a cross-court pass to Kevin Holden, but this one will find itself out of bounds. Now the Wildcats only holding a 14-point lead over the Geoducks. About 53 seconds, keeping us away from halftime here. And here comes, once again, the Geoducks. Passed in, and here's Kennedy taking the mid-range shot. Gets it to go. A nice move there. Working it on the wing, as here's Kevin Holden. Kevin Holden driving in. And he attempts a shot, but this one's not necessarily going to work in his favor. Foul is called, though. A couple of shots coming his way. Kevin Holden, so far on the season for the Wildcats, shooting about 83% from the charity stripe. And here's the shot. This one put up and knocked down by Kevin Holden. And my apologies, folks, as it appears that the mascot for our opponents here tonight is actually the Geoducks. And I am pronouncing it wrong. As here's Kevin Holden putting up the shot and missing. But there's that. So now the Geoducks bringing it down, ladies and gentlemen. A revelation of all-time statures. Here comes Jaden Upshaw bringing it up, working against Kevin Holden. Screen comes up, but he won't use it. Shot clock still in order, about 14 seconds on it. Here comes Upshaw, working his way through, loses the ball to Kevin Holden, but it's picked up by the Geoducks, and a shot is put up and missed. That one attempted by Luke Brewer. So a couple of shots coming his way, as the foul was called. That's going to put the Geoducks into the bonus. And here's the shot. This one put up and knocked down. And now awaiting the second shot from Luke Brewer. So far on the season, from the charity stripe, Luke Brewer shooting about 87%, and he shows why, knocking down both of his attempts from the charity line. As here comes Kevin Holden, passes this one over, and it's going to be stolen, it's going to be bobbled around quite a bit, coming from the hands of Cameron McNeil, finds its way out of bounds, and now the Geoducks will have 2.5 seconds to make something happen here at the end of the first half of action. This one tossed in, shot is put up, and it is missed. So just like that, your Central Washington Wildcats will carry an 11-point lead into halftime against our opponents here tonight. Of course, Evergreen State Geoducks. They've done their thing here tonight, and so far, it's been a great night of action. We expect more to come of it, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll return in just about a few minutes as we get ready to recap what happened in our first half of action, and we get you ready for the second half. We've got about 15 minutes to it, so we'll be back in just a moment here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central. 88-1 The Berg, your Music Central, and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our broadcast of Central Washington University versus Evergreen State here on both of those platforms, which I just mentioned. Folks, tonight has been a great matchup between both of these two teams. It's been one for, I wouldn't necessarily say one for the ages, but one for the viewing for sure. An 11-point lead for the Wildcats as the Geoducks, of course, trail by that same number. Up until this point, it's been an interesting showing for both teams. The Geoducks definitely relying a little bit more on their perimeter shooting, which has proven effective at points, but definitely not the entire game. Of course, the perimeter defense of the Wildcats, while I wouldn't necessarily use the term prolific, I would use the term successful, and it has proven effective against multiple of our opponents this season. So we'll see if the Wildcats are able to keep the Geoducks in check. Of course, this last Saturday, we went to overtime and ended up pulling out the win, but it was a close contest. Now, in that game, we saw a great performance from a number of Wildcats. Specifically, though, we saw an abnormally great performance. I wouldn't actually necessarily say abnormal, as up until this point in the season, Angelo Lloyd has worked himself into the conversation of one of the better scorers on the team. Now, when we look at the statistical version of this, and we look at how the statistics themselves view it, he is second on the team in points per game, averaging about 12 as of right now. We'll see how he's able to work with that as the season progresses, and if I'm honest with you folks, I do expect that to progress a bit further. Angelo Lloyd is, of course, in his first year with the Central Washington Wildcats, but does have a bit of experience from the past, coming from Seattle University. He's a senior this year, so unfortunately we will be missing him as the years progress. But for this season, should be a great tool for the Wildcats in looking to make the GNAC championship and, of course, bring a trophy home. Now, here come the boys making their way out to the court as they look to retake the court against this opposition. Now, on the night as well, we've seen a great performance from Cameron McNeil, who's just been electric from beyond the arc. Practically every point that he's had, every opportunity that he's had to shoot the ball from there has been successful, as we see Samad Hector and folks warming up. Folks, it's been a great game up until this point. We expect that to continue. Don't forget that following the conclusion of this game, we do have the Central Washington Lady Cats that will also be taking on the Evergreen State Geoducks. Now, we watched our women play not too long ago, last Saturday, and they did great. I mean, not a couple of days ago, but about a week before then, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was, it was a great night of action. We've seen both of these teams in action a couple of times up until this point, and they've both looked great. I mean, you look at the comparisons from last year, and it's easy to talk about departing players and how that's affected both teams, and we've done a fair bit of that up until this point. But, the big thing is when you look at these teams, they're constructed in very specific ways over the offseason. And we've had a chance to talk to a couple of our Central Washington men's team's players, and they all say the same thing. I mean, this team sets them up to be successful. Not only that, but they're a very tight-knit group of players. I mean, you have to be that as a team, but it just seems ever more apparent the more that you talk to our Central Washington players and the better of an understanding that you get for where they are coming from. This team works as really a bunch of different gears, and an engine is a great way to think about it. If one thing isn't working correctly, then it can throw the whole ship off. Though I will say, sometimes it reminds me of my own vehicle, as even if one cylinder isn't necessarily running the same way, everything else can pick it up and it will still run. Ladies and gentlemen, this Wildcat team is one that can be used with a variety of different anecdotes, a variety of different comparisons, but the fact of the matter is, this is a team that has shown a competency when it comes to scoring the basketball, moving the basketball around the court. We hope to see the playmaking improve just a tad bit more, as of course I've mentioned throughout the broadcast that turnovers have been an issue for the Wildcats coming up into this point. Now, it hasn't been as big of an issue tonight, but we have seen a couple of skirmishes for the ball, and a loose ball is a bad ball, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at how these teams play, the second that one comes out, you're going to get a fast break drive, and that's the way that momentum gets built in this sport. Folks, we're about 3 minutes away from picking up the action here in our second half. We will be back with the conclusion of our men's basketball game in just a moment here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. We'll be back in just a moment. .1 The Berg, your Music Central, and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ryan Gildersleeve here, your play-by-play broadcaster for tonight's action. We are just about a couple of seconds away from the opening of our second half of action as your Central Washington men's team takes on Evergreen State. The Geoducks have traveled into the Nicholson Arena for a couple of different matchups here. As, of course, we've mentioned before, a doubleheader here tonight as both the men's and women's squads will be in action. 20 minutes on the clock, and we are ready for the second half of action as your Central Washington Wildcats take the court. Folks, as we've mentioned before, it's been a great night of action, definitely an individual performance, as when you put this up against different games for the Wildcats, it has been quite different. We start up the action and immediately pause it as whistles blow. Not necessarily too sure what's going on there, but either way, we are resuming the action, and once again, it's the Geoducks coming in. We have switched sides of the court, as now the Geoducks work against their side. Here they come, moving the ball around the perimeter a bit, now driving in. Now passes out, and it's a quick layup, put up and knocked down by by Mubarek Michael. And here come the Wildcats once more. Jordan Clark with the ball in hand. He hands it off to Cameron McNeil. Cameron McNeil passing out now. This one to Dawson. Dawson out over to Clark again. Clark to Samad Hector. Hector working against his man. He's going to go up, and he's going to get this one in on a nice little up and under move. 56-45, your current score. An 11-point separation between the two teams. The Wildcats in favor. Now here's Upshaw. He's going to give it over to Mubarek Michael once again. And that dynamic duo has been in effect quite a few times tonight as Mubarek records his 10th points of the night. Now here's Seth Dawson working against the Geoducks. He passes over to Samad Hector, puts up a shot. This one is up and off, though the offensive rebound goes to Hector, and he gets the second chance points. So that's going to make it 11 on the night for Samad Hector, And now here come the Geoducks on the other end. Upshaw puts up a layup, but he is fouled, so 2 shots coming his way. Up until this point, Upshaw, 8 points to his name. It'll be the first foul called of the half, and it will go against Central Washington. This one being credited against Seth Dawson. First shot is put up and knocked down by Upshaw. A couple of substitutions for the Wildcats, as coming into the game is going to be Angelo Lloyd as well as Bradley Swilly. Now the second free throw coming here, and it's put up and made by Upshaw. So that's going to be a couple of points coming off the charity stripe, and the Wildcats go back to work. Here's Seth Dawson working now against Upshaw. He's going to drive, make his way to the paint, and get fouled. So that's going to be the first foul now against the Geoducks. And a couple of free throws now coming to the Wildcat side. We've looked at the numbers for the Wildcats here tonight. One number that does jump off the page for those of you who may have not been here to hear it before. The Wildcats average about 30% from the free throw line higher than their opponents. As here's Seth Dawson. First shot's going to be up, and it's going to be good. The Wildcats leading by 10, 59-49. Seth Dawson now with a chance to push it back to where the separation stood at halftime. Shot's going to be up, and it's going to be off. Rebound is going to go to Evergreen State and Mubarak Michael. And it appears that after the whistles blow, he did step out of bounds. So it'll be the Wildcats taking over. And just like that, it'll be Maverick Sanders, the inbounder for the Cats, as he tosses this one into Seth Dawson. And once again, we are underway. He's going to toss it back over to Sanders. Sanders, this one back out. It's going to find its way to Samad Hector. Hector is going to be stuffed, going up for the layup. And now here comes Evergreen State once again. Working now against Maverick Sanders, and getting the shot to go is Jaden Upshaw. Upshaw recording his 12 points of the night. Now here's Seth Dawson. He's going to toss one over to Maverick Sanders, who gets the little windmill layup to go. And just like that, he keeps the Geoducks away. About 10 points is where the Wildcats are sitting at in terms of separation. It's stolen here, and it's put up. Layup is going to go, and you can't say much about Angelo Lloyd, but good lately as he gets the scoop and score. Angelo Lloyd already recorded 9 points on the night so far. Moving it around are the Geoducks, as here's Upshaw passing it into his big. Looks like he wanted to return the favor, but didn't get the opportunity to. Instead, it goes to Brewer. Brewer back out to Upshaw. Upshaw moving his way around, and he passes back out to his big. This one to Thomas. Thomas now driving. Samad Hector blocks it. Samad Hector, a great play, getting up and sending it back. Keeps the separation at 12. Keeps the Geoducks in their place, if you will. And a foul is called. So what definitely appeared to be a clean block from the booth is going to be called a foul, and it's going to be Thomas taking a couple free throws of his own. This first one coming up, and it will fall. So another one coming his way. Making this shot would cut the lead down to 10 for the Wildcats. Here it comes, up, and it's in. So just like that, spoke it into existence as here come the Wildcats. Seth Dawson, ball in hand. Here comes the screen from Samad Hector. He's going to take it, move out left, and then he's going to shoot it back out. Three-pointer taken by Dawson. This one is up and off. Played a little bit of hot potato there before getting the shot off. Now here on the other end, Upshaw just showing off again, but Samad Hector getting up and righting his wrongs from the last drive. Here come the Wildcats again. It's Angelo Lloyd passing out to Seth Dawson. Dawson creating separation and passing out to Swilly for three. This one is up and off. And Evergreen State will bat this one out of bounds, or so it appears. Samad Hector's down on the court. And we'll see if he's going to be getting up. Samad Hector, of course, has already gone down like this once in this game. So he gets up. Looks like he may have tweaked the left leg in one way or another. And he looks as if he's going to be coming off the court. So just like that, coming into the game in his place is going to be, it appears that it's going to be Kevin Holden. So the Wildcats running out 4 guards and a big here. An interesting set against Evergreen State. As here's Brewer bringing it up. He's going to pass it over to Upshaw. Upshaw moving out left, now guarded by by Brizzy. Brizzy, the perimeter defense being tested, but it will prove successful as here comes Swilly. Swilly passes out left, and here's the shot put up, and shot's not even going to find its way up as it's a quick block against Angelo Lloyd. Now Mubarak Michael making Angelo Lloyd miss, but then missing a 3-pointer, unable to successfully convert, and on the other end, it's going to be the Wildcats going up and being fouled. More specifically, it'll be Bradley Swilly. He goes up, and he will get the foul, and a timeout will be called. So we'll be back in just about 30 seconds here on Central Washington University Athletics live stream and 88.1 The Berg. Won the Berg, your Music Central and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ryan Gildersleeve, your play-by-play broadcaster, not only tonight, but for the entirety of winter break, which unfortunately does end tonight in terms of our basketball action. That's right, folks. If you are looking to tune into some Central Washington University basketball, you will have to wait until students do return, or maybe not until exactly that point, but definitely until the end of the month, when we do return and we have a few more matchups. Of course, from that point forward, the teams will be playing in GNAC action almost exclusively until the end of the season, where we see if either of our Cats teams are able to make their way to the GNAC championship. Of course, last year putting up their own fair fight, but not quite making it far enough. Now we rejoin the action as Bradley Swilly will put up his free throws, following being fouled on a attempted layup before the break. He's going to get the first one to go. Bradley Swilly, so far on the season, about 90% from the charity stripe. Definitely doing his thing. And he's going to get the second one to go. So just like that, he extends his own total to 20 for 22 from the line on this season. I'll help the numbers a little bit, as on the other end, here's Evergreen State driving. Definitely playing some aggressive basketball tonight are the Geoducks, as here's Thomas working his way up. Trying to fight here. He's got a variety of Wildcats in his face. He's going to pass out left. This one back to Thomas. Thomas drives. Shots put up, but this one is up and off. Rebounded by Brizzy, and the handoff is to Kevin Holden, who shoots it over to Dawson. Dawson moving his way in. Out. Angelo Lloyd. 3-ball will go. Just like that. Angelo Lloyd adding 3 more onto his total for the night, pushing himself up to 12 points. Not only that, but pushing the Wildcats to a 15-point separation. They lead by that number, and they're going to go for the full court press. Interesting strategy here as the Wildcats just look to run over the Geoducks. Now here on the other end, the Geoducks working aggressively, passes out to the exterior. 3-pointer is put up and off. That one attempted by Luke Brewer. It's rebounded by the Wildcats, and here's Kevin Holden working it up once more. He's going to drive, working against Thomas, passes out to Angelo Lloyd. Lloyd now back to Holden for 3. This one up and off the front of the rim, rebounded by Brizzy. Brizzy to the exterior for 3. This one is up and off, rebounded by Mubarak Michael. Passed up and out of bounds. The Wildcats retake possession of the basketball and earn themselves an opportunity to extend this lead that they've held for practically the entirety of this game. 14 minutes remaining in our second half of action and in the game. After that, we'll have a bit of a break and we'll return for the Lady Cats game. Now here's Seth Dawson, ball in hand. He's going to work against Mubarak Michael. He's going to go out left, get the screen from Brizzy. It's not quite successful. Still Dawson, passes over, and here's the shot put up and knocked down. Great shot that time, going up and being delivered by Bradley Swilly. Now here once again, is going to be the point guard for the Geoducks. Jaden Upshaw passes out to the exterior, and now moving around is Alex Glenn. Now it's a couple of different passes, which are going to find Mubarak Michael on the exterior. Then it's passed over. Shot was attempted by Gunnar Haran, who will now be taking free throws after being fouled on the play. The foul was against Bradley Swilly, it so appeared. As now, with about 14 minutes remaining, we'll see a couple more free throws put up here. So far on the night, only 2 points to the name of Gunnar Haran. And he's going to get the first one to go. So you can run that total up to 3, as that cuts the Wildcat lead down to 16. Now here's the second one coming. Haran getting ready for the second free throw. This one is up and off, rebounded by the Wildcats, and that time it appears that the announcer's curse worked in our favor, as here comes Dawson handing it off to Holden. Holden passing it around a couple of times. It finds itself into the hands of Angelo Lloyd, into the hands of Bradley Swilly, who gets that one to go. So the Wildcats running this 4-guard set are really looking dominant. Ball's being passed around the perimeter a few times, and now here's the drive, pass back out to Haran. Haran now over to Thomas. Thomas passes in, and it's going to be an easy layup by Thomas. So some good playmaking, good job of moving the ball around the court for the Geoducks as they look to pose some sort of a comeback here. Now this one passed to the exterior to Holden, back out for 3, up and off. Rebounded though by, almost rebounded by the Wildcats. It was Mitch Brzee going up for the shot, and a travel is called on the other end. And just like that, Colby Jeanette's going to check into the game. The Wildcats are going to take the ball, and coming out will be Seth Dawson. So Colby Jeanette into the game for the Wildcats. He's been good so far tonight, putting up 6 points of his own. Here are the Wildcats working their way against the Geoducks, and it's going to be a quick shot put up and missed by Bradley Swilly, though a foul does occur on the play, which will lead to him receiving a couple of more free throws. This foul is going to be called against Thomas. So that's going to lead to, as previously mentioned, a couple more for Swilly, who, like we previously mentioned, was shooting 90% coming into this from the charity stripe. He's going to get another one to go, pushing himself up to 21 for 23 on the season. Calculate that if you will, but I do know it's above 90%. And here's the next shot coming. So he's going to stay on that path. The Wildcats have been very efficient from the charity stripe tonight. Now leading by 18 points. Here come the Geoducks. Ball moved around a couple of times. Back into the hands of Alex Glenn. Glenn moving out to his right, being guarded by a couple of Wildcats now. He's going to give the rock over and a quick shot to his teammate, Corey Bridges. Now bringing it back up are the Wildcats. Swilly ball in hand, working his way forward, takes a screen, and he's going to be fouled as he moves his way forward. Blocking foul goes against the Geoducks. More specifically, it appears that it's going to go against number 44, Corey Bridges. So Bridges picks up his first foul of the game. The Geoducks record their 4th, and here come the Wildcats once again. It's going to be a pass sent out to Samad Hector for a quick and easy 3-ball. It was Colby Jeanette receiving the inbound, shooting it out to the exterior, and it's Samad Hector getting it to go. So he records his 14th points of the game for the Wildcats, and here come the Geoducks on their end of the court. It's Bridges losing it, goes out of bounds, should be Wildcat ball. Though it appears, and it will be, just as expected. Jeanette, the inbounder, tosses into Kevin Holden. And now it appears that a timeout has been called on the court. So we're going to take 1-2 and be back in just a couple of seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. 88-1 the Berg, your Music Central. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. I, of course, am Ryan Gildersleeve, your play-by-play broadcaster for tonight and the entirety of winter break. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into our broadcast here tonight. Here comes Central Washington University making their way back into it, coming out of the break. They currently lead by 13 points against opponent Evergreen State. Here's Samad Hector handing this one off. And here's Bradley Swilly working his way in. He loses it a couple more times, and a foul is called by the far side ref. We'll see what he saw on that one. An interesting one there, as it is going to be called against the Geoducks. And it's a quick shot. That's Kevin Holden, the inbounder. He tosses it up, and it's Bradley Swilly showing off the bunnies to get that one to go. An 11-point lead, or excuse me, the Wildcats leading by a bit more than that, about 21 points or so it appears. And here comes Evergreen State on their end. A shot put up and missed. Rebounded, though, by Evergreen State. Doing a good job of getting the offensive conversions, as this time they're not able to do so. It's Kevin Holden going up and just about throwing it down. Wow. He really put that one up. That one looked like he had it, but just a couple inches off there. The ball will find its way out of bounds off of the Geoducks, so not without any sort of positive addition is that attempt by the Wildcat point guard. But here we come once more. Now moving out left is Kevin Holden, passes over, and now it's going to find its way into Samad Hector. Hector on the interior gets the ball popped out of his hands. He's working, and he drives, and he loses the ball. So it's another turnover by the Wildcats. And just like that, the Geoducks take back over as we approach what would be and an interesting call there, as it appears that the inbounder, which was going to be Alex Glenn, not allowed to move down the baseline, but he did, resulting in Central Washington taking back over, and Colby Jeanette getting a shot and an and one opportunity fresh off the inbound. So the Geoducks throwing away a golden opportunity to gain some ground against Central Washington, and resulting in what could be a potential three-point play should Colby Jeanette make this free throw. The numbers on the season, of course, suggest that he will, as he's yet to miss one. He's put up 2 in this game so far. And his third will go as well. So Colby Jeanette remains perfect from the charity stripe as he hits his 3rd of the game and 5th of the season. Here's Bradley Swilly working now against Glenn, and Samad Hector gets up and sends this one back. A foul is called. A Dwight Howard-esque block there, if you ask me. Getting up and sending it straight back down like a missile. And it's a foul called. It's going to result in a couple of free throws for Glenn. I'd love to see a written explanation for that one. And here's the first free throw for Glenn. This one put up and off. So just like that, you know, it's free throws and announcers. There's something about it. There's some connection there that needs to be studied. As Alex Glenn now getting ready for the second free throw. And he's going to miss them both. So just like that, I feel like I've done my job. Here comes Kevin Holden, working his way past midcourt. He's got Samad Hector giving him the screen. He's going to take it, moves out left. He's got Samad out right. He's going to give him the ball. Now coming over into his view. Back to Kevin Holden. Looks like he wanted the 3. Won't take it. Instead, gets some separation. Takes the shot. Misses. Rebound goes to Hector, and he's going to get the second chance points. So Samad Hector moves his total up to 16 on the night as the Wildcats extend their lead to 26 over the Geoducks tonight. Here's the pass. This one was intended for the interior, more specifically Corey Bridges, and instead it's going to result in Samad Hector throwing it home. 18 points on the night so far for the Wildcats' leading scorer. And now on the other end, it's Thomas with a back-up shot. Wow, takes the back step. Looks like James Harden as he knocks that one down. Now on the other end, passing it around a couple of times with the Wildcats. Samad Hector, ball in hand, tosses this to Colby Jeanette. Jeanette makes his defender miss and gets it to go. The Wildcats tally 90 points as we cross into what would be the 4th quarter of action. 9 minutes, 30 seconds remaining in our game. The Wildcats up 90-61. That's right, a 29-point lead for your Wildcats as Kevin Holden now is defending the ball handler. Passes out, stolen by Jeanette. Here comes Colby Jeanette. And he's going to put up a quick and easy layup. Moves the total to 92. Moves the Wildcat lead to 31. And here comes the Geoducks once again. It's Alex Glenn moving out right, now being guarded by a couple of Wildcats. Driving, throws this one out to Mubarak Michael, who's going to get a very nice layup to go. Some great effort tonight being displayed by Mubarak Michael of the Geoducks. He's got 13 points to his name, as on the other end, the Wildcats, more specifically, number 5, of course, that being Angelo Lloyd, putting up a 3 and missing. On the other end, it's going to be the Geoducks taking advantage and getting a layup to go. So they cut the lead to 25, and a timeout is called. We're going to take one, too, and be back in just about 30 seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. .88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ryan Gildersleeve, your play-by-play broadcaster, not only for tonight, but for the entirety of your winter break. The Wildcats currently lead it 90-65. That's right, a 25-point lead for your Cats. Here comes Jordan Clark, the point guard for the Wildcats, to start it off once again. About 8.5 minutes remaining in the game here as Cameron McNeil takes a step back and puts up a 3-ball, one of his first misses of the night, as he's been, frankly, electric from beyond the arc. Now here's the Geoducks moving around. Mubarak Michael with the ball in hand. He's going to toss this one over, and it'll be in the hands of Bridges. Bridges now handing it off to Thomas. Thomas is going to go up against Maverick Sanders and will get the shot to go. A foul is called, though, with absolutely no backing, as the hands were kept to himself, if you ask the bird's eye view. It will be Thomas taking a couple of free throws. 9 points to his name up to this point. He attempts the first, and this one is up and good. So he will convert on the and one opportunity. And now here comes Maverick Sanders. Sanders moving it around. It's going to find its way into the hands of Bradley Swilly, who puts up a mid-range shot and gets it to go. Of course, Bradley Swilly has shown his ability to score in the mid-range multiple times here in this early season. It's now on the other end. The Geoducks look to make something happen here. Tossed around to the exterior a couple of times. Now it's Thomas driving against Jeanette. He's going to lose the ball quickly and toss it out to the exterior. Now it's a three-point shot put up, nowhere near the rim, rebounded by Colby Jeanette, and here come the Wildcats. Tossed over to Swilly, Swilly to McNeil. McNeil's going to drive, take a step back here. Looked like he wanted the shot, won't take it. Instead, he's going to toss it into Brizzy. Brizzy now out. This one to Sanders. Sanders to McNeil. Wide open three. This one is up and off the back iron and rebounded now by the Geoducks. Moving it in. Working against Maverick Sanders here. Taking a three-point shot and missing are the Geoducks. More specifically, number 3, Elijah McLaughlin. McLaughlin, the leading scorer for the Geoducks, has been held to 6 points tonight. As now here is Colby Jeanette putting up a layup, and that one's off. Rebounded by Brizzy. He puts up a shot that would have gotten the Wildcats some second chance points, but he's fouled. And a timeout is going to be called. So We'll be back in just a few seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. '88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our broadcast of this game. We've got some free throws being put up by Mitch Brizzi here. First one was put up and knocked down. And he's got an opportunity for the second one here. This one is up and off, though, rebounded by the Geoducks, and here they come once again. It's Jaden Upshaw, the ball in hand, moving himself up. He'll be defended by Bradley Swilly. Passes this one out left, stolen by Brizzi. A foul is called, and it appears that it's going to be called against Upshaw, which will result in free throws for Mitch Brizzi as the Wildcats have entered the bonus. 8 fouls in this half by the Geoducks, only 5 to the Wildcats' favor. And here's Mitch Brizzi once again making himself at home on the free throw line. Puts the shot up and knocks it down, so with the 1-and-1 rules, he will get another one here. Second free throw coming. This one up and good. So Mitch Brizzi knocking down both of his free throws there. And here come the Geoducks once more. About 3:30 here at the Nicholson Arena. These teams have been playing for quite a while now, but only 6 minutes remain. As here comes Upshaw. He's going to pass out to McLaughlin for 3, but this one is up and off. Rebounded now by McNeil, who's going to pass out to Swilly. Swilly now driving, tossing up to to Mitch Brizzi. Loses the ball for a second with some pesky defense, but passes out to Kevin Holden. Wide open. Don't give him that. That's a 3-ball in your face. Central Washington pushes their total to 68 and their lead to 30. Just stunting on the Geoducks here tonight. As they move the ball around the exterior, it's Upshaw with the ball in hand, moving himself forward a tad bit. Now passing out left. This one to Thomas. Thomas going out right. He's defended now by Sanders. He passes out left. Now the wings moving it around. This one over to McLaughlin, who attempts the layup, and it's off. A foul is called, though, and it'll be the 6th for the Wildcats. It'll result in 2 free throws for McLaughlin, and it will be a foul that is called against one of the Wildcats. Not exactly sure who. And here we are. It's Thomas, the inbounder. He's going to toss this one in. And here we are, driving into the paint, putting up a shot and missing. It's Jaden Upshaw. And the buzzer goes. A couple of substitutions for the Wildcats, it appears, as Mitch Brizzi exits the game, as well as Bradley Swilly, it appears, coming in their place. Are going to be obviously a pair of Wildcats. More specifically, it's going to be Bennett O'Connor, as well as Jordan Clark. So here's O'Connor now with the ball, moving his way up on the perimeter. It's going to pass over to Cameron McNeil. McNeil moving himself back, almost loses it but doesn't. Passes over to Samad Hector, who loses the ball. Excuse me, not to Samad Hector. That was over to number 25, Carl Thorpe. And now here they come. It's Upshaw with the ball in hand. Is going to move himself out right, hands this one off. Now moving out right once again. And it was Luke Brewer, ball in hand. He's going to drive, get the free throw to, not the free throw, but the layup to go. Now here come the Wildcats again. Bennett O'Connor, he's going to drive, show up some dribble moves. This one over to Cameron McNeil, who puts up a shot, misses. Second chance opportunity is off, and it finds its way out of bounds. Wildcat ball. Wildcats still leading by 28, so with 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining, I sure do hope that there's not necessarily too much of a shot that goes away. Here's the shot right off the inbound. It's up and off, and that one's going to be in the possession of Central Washington once again. So a few quick stoppages, though, to your Wildcats' favor. Both teams are in the bonus here, as both squads have 7 fouls to their name, so any foul will result in free throws at this point. Here's Cameron McNeil working his way around, driving in, passing out, finds its way to O'Connor for 3. This one is up and good. And just like that, the Wildcats add 3 more onto their total. Now leading by 31, 101 to 70, your score. Here are the Geoducks. More specific, now losing the ball are the Geoducks, but still picking it up, putting up a shot. This one's up and off, though, and the offensive rebound is attained by Evergreen State. Here's the shot put up, and it is off. So even with the foul, no score will occur on the play, and we'll wait to see what they can do from the charity stripe. It's going to be number 23, Lane Kennedy, for the Geoducks, putting this one up. Or these two, rather. First one is up, and that one is good. Lane Kennedy, so far on the season, hasn't necessarily been too great. 6-15 from the free throw line. It's about what? As here's the second free throw coming up. And he's going to get this one to go. So just like that, a couple more points on the board for the Geoducks. Whistles blow. And the Wildcats will take over with about 4 minutes remaining in the game. Passes in, and here's Jordan Clark bringing it up. Clark now passes this one out, and here's the shot put up on the wing and missed. Rebounded, though, by the Wildcats, and it's a quick shot put up, once again missed, but the foul is obtained, and it's Carl Thorpe heading to the charity stripe for a couple shots of his own. But not before a timeout is called, and we're going to take one, too. Be back in just a few seconds here on 88.1 The Berg, your Music Central, as well as the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. It won the Berg, your Music Central, and your Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we re-enter the action with about 3 minutes and 55 seconds remaining in our game between Central Washington and Evergreen State. The first of two, that is, as after this game is over, we will have the Lady Cats coming into the pavilion to play a game against Evergreen State as well. Here's the first free throw put up by Carl Thorpe and missed. Now we await the second. A chance to push the Wildcat lead back up to 30. That's right, folks, 30. And he's going to do it. So just like that, 30. We'll lead by 30. It's a good number, folks. As here comes Evergreen State once more. The Geoducks looking to at least get some practice time going on for the remaining 3.5 minutes. This one passed on to the interior. Mid-range shot. Looks like he wants it. He's not going to take it. He's going to move out right on the screen. Guarded by Maverick Sanders. Doesn't take the shot yet again. Passes this one out to Bridges. Almost bobbles it out. This one now. Passed out once again. It's the wing going up against Carl Thorpe, who blocks this one back, throws it up to Maverick Sanders, who goes up and throws it down! Bridges gets posterized by Maverick Sanders. Wow! Ladies and gentlemen, what a play. Woo! Three-pointer knocked down on the other end. But I just about lost my socks on that one, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how to explain what that play just did, but good Lord. Now passing it around to the Wildcats. Jordan Clark's going to lose the ball on a pass intended for Seth Dawson. Here's the shot put up. Ladies and gentlemen, what a play. Here's Evergreen State on the other end, doing what they can. Now driving, looking for a shot. Instead, he's going to find it into the hands of Seth Dawson. Now here are the Wildcats on the other end. It's Bennett O'Connor putting up a shot, but this one is up and off. And it will be the Geoducks retaking possession of the basketball. And we'll see. It'll be O'Connor, the inbounder. He's going to toss it into Seth Dawson, who's given a wide-open three-point shot, but isn't able to convert on it. Instead, he's going to pass out to O'Connor, who's going to put up a three ball of his own. Another offensive rebound, this time by Carl Thorpe, who's going to get his own second chance points to go. And Carl Thorpe extends his point total to 3 on the night. Now here are, once again, the Geoducks looking to make something happen. A long three ball is put up and knocked down by Javian McLaughlin. One would have to assume the brother of number 3 in the leading scorer of the Geoducks, Elijah McLaughlin, as the Wildcats put up a three that's up and off the back iron, rebounded by, once again, the other McLaughlin brother. And here they come. Passes to the corner. Here's the drive. Shot is put up over Maverick Sanders, who's going to block this one and grab it. So some great interior defense being put on display by Maverick Sanders, as well as, jumping over people, but that's besides the point. Carl Thorpe's going to take a three, and just like that, you let the internal thoughts win, and you end up shooting that three. Here is McLaughlin, ball in hand, hands this one off to his left. Being guarded here by Clark. Now works against him, and a foul is going to be called. This one supposedly against Clark, one would have to assume. A little bit of contact moving out right. And with this game in the bonus, we're really just wondering who's going to be shooting the free throws here. And it is going to be number 24. That appears to be Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy, sophomore for Evergreen State. Attempting his first free throw of the night, and he's going to get it to go. With the 1-and-1 rules, of course, he's going to get a second one. About a minute and 12 seconds to play after the second free throw goes. Here it is. And this one is up and off, rebounded by Central Washington. And it's Carl Thorpe in specific. He passes up to Bennett O'Connor. O'Connor will now work against Kennedy. He's going to toss this one over to Maverick Sanders, who puts up a fancy pass into Carl Thorpe, who's going to be fouled as he attempts a shot. So Maverick Sanders really showing it off on all sides. Kind of a five-tool player out there on the court tonight. Pass vision has been great. Scoring ability has been good. Defense has been even better. Free throw is put up and knocked down by Carl Thorpe. And now we'll get a second one. We'll see how Maverick Sanders is able to continue to develop as the season goes on, but really has been a great tool for the Wildcats up to this point. As the second free throw is knocked down, and just like that, Wildcats continue on their path, leading by about 29 right now. Here's the shot put up on the other end. It's going to be rebounded by Bennett O'Connor, and here he comes on the perimeter, moving the ball around a little bit. He's going to toss this one over to Jordan Clark. Clark now going to give it right back to O'Connor. O'Connor into Thorpe, who takes a free throw mid-range, and this one is up and off. Rebounded now by Bridges. And here he comes. He's going to toss this one back to Kennedy. Kennedy moving out right. being guarded by Maverick Sanders. He hands this one off. This one now back to Bridges. Bridges on the exterior takes a three-point shot, nowhere near the rim, and it's going to be taken this time by Bennett O'Connor. Now there is no shot clock, and there won't be a shot taken. So just like that, ladies and gentlemen, your Central Washington Wildcats will win 108-79. Your Wildcats win in blowout fashion, a 29-point victory. And we'll be back in just about a minute or so to wrap this one up and get you ready for our second game of the evening, which will be back in just, who really knows? We'll be back in just about a couple of minutes. We'll give you all of the things you need to know. And then we'll be back for the Lady Cats game against Evergreen State, where they will look to replicate what an incredible matchup this just was. The Berg, your Music Central, and the Central Washington University Athletics live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to give you a little bit of a recap of what we just saw as your Central Washington Wildcats pulled in the win. 108-79. You heard it, folks, a 29-point victory for your men's team as the Wildcats take the first win of the day. We'll see if the Lady Cats are able to replicate that success as we get ready for the Central Washington ladies team to take on Evergreen State once again. Evergreen State warming up here on the court, but for us, we're going to talk a little bit about what we saw in that game. Now, of course, it was a great game for a variety of Wildcats, definitely a more of a collective team win. Of course, last game we saw a big scoring outing by Angelo Lloyd. This time he was held to a little bit less, but obviously was still a big part of the Wildcats game. Now, aside from that, Samad Hector looking like his old self again. Of course, we haven't been able to see him play in every game over this winter break. A couple of injury concerns maybe popping up. Last year he did miss some time, and then before then we had some more time that was missed by Samad Hector. So you'd have to hope that he's able to stay healthy moving forward, which one would have to assume that he is. I mean, Samad Hector, of course, when I was talking to him before, talking about how over the offseason it was practically all spent on making sure that his health was at the top tier that it could be at, making sure that he is in the best shape he could be at, talking about how he's put on muscle, how he's put on strength, and one could have to hope that with the way that he's playing, that it's not being thrown around a little bit too much. But with that being said, Samad Hector had a great showing tonight, putting up a lot of rebounds, great scoring, blocks were there. You'd have to really highlight a couple of players when you look at the interior defense for the Wildcats. And tonight, both Maverick Sanders and Samad Hector were on their game as they went head-to-head, trying to see who could rack up the most blocks for the Wildcats. And, you know, that's really how it went. The Wildcats were just competing with themselves to see who could do the best against Evergreen State. And at the very end of it, the Wildcats came out on top. Once again, folks, 108-79. Your Wildcats take home the victory in their final game of the winter break. We will see them again when we come back from winter break. But, folks, for now, we've got a 30-minute break. And when we come back, we've got Central Washington Lady Cat basketball as they take on Evergreen State. Folks, I am Ryan Gildersleeve, your play-by-play broadcaster for tonight, and we'll be back in just a moment.